Hey everybody, welcome back. I was planning on doing this live last night. However, I was not feeling well yesterday. So I am going to record a video using day one stencils from Stencilpalooza. I'll go over to the desk and we'll talk about that and we'll get started. First up, I want to say any links that I have used down below are affiliate links, which just means if you place an order using one of those links, I do get a small commission off of those, and that helps me create content for you guys. Stencilpalooza day one had two stencils. We had the Nocturne Glow, which is these great bats. And then we had Pumpkin Glow, which is a 2-part stencil. Here is part one. Now my part two is going to look a little different because I have a sample and they made some changes to it. Yours will have more jack-o'-lantern-y look faces. So I am not going to use this part today. Well, I might use this part, but it's going to look a little different. But I did want to be upfront with that because I got mine before they started and they made some changes. So let's go ahead and get started. Everything I am using is in stock. I have a little bit of the new release with us, and I have a little bit of the some old release. All the stencils, I'm pulling out some paper here. All the stencils are for Stencilpalooza are $1 shipping, whether you buy the entire thing, the week, or one. However, if you add anything to it, like ink or paper or dual foil or stamps, regular shipping will apply. So just know that. You can buy the entire thing, the entire month, or you can buy them individually, or you can even buy them by the week. As of right now, this might change. I do know on Sundays there will be 2 stencils released, and on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there will be 1 stencil, and then there will be no stencils on Saturday as of me filming this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start. We're going to use the Pumpkin Glow start to start. I just have my stick and stay mat here and some Not Your Mama's cardstock. And I am going to use Pompous because I want to do an unconventional Halloween card using this. And I think this is just fun. So when I was prepping to do my live, I do have a few backgrounds that are done ahead of time. And I'm going to use those to create a few cards as well at the end. I was going to do some swap outs, and I just decided in the long term, I decided I'd make extra cards instead. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink blend this in. I think it's super fun to do different colors. I saw a video yesterday where they were using teal, and they were like, use teal to make your unconventional Christmas card or Halloween cards. And I thought, I'm going to use purple because purple's my favorite. Now, I'm not worried about getting a super deep blend. I'm kind of going around. I just want it to be more purple than white. But the variation of having a little white in there will work, to give it some depth. And then I am going to add a little bit here and there because I got some swirlies where I didn't tap off my brush. And that is what we're going to do for this card. And then go ahead and pull this off for the reveal. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Look at how fun that is. Now, like I said, you could totally add, I'm going to move my white cardstock out of the way so I don't dirty that. You could totally go ahead and add the faces by lining them up. Like I said, my faces are different faces. Yours will be the jack-o'-lantern. I have that one coming to me. I just didn't have it in time for filming. But instead tonight, I wanted to use just the pumpkins. So I am going to use this. I'm going to cut it down ever so slightly. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it down to 4. I think we'll cut a little bit off the top and the bottom, 5 1/4. So when I cut mine off, I cut it about in half, and then I flip it over and do the other half. That way I kind of get the same, and I cut a little bit of each of those pumpkins off. And then I want to go direct to paper because I do want the purple matte behind it. I want lots of purple on this card. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my Pompous, and I'm going to grab my glass mat. We're going to use the stencil of the month here, or the stamp of the month here in just a minute. And this is just, I just need to do the edge because it's all you're going to see. So I don't have to go over the whole thing. I don't have to be perfect because we don't have perfect pumpkins. And that's one thing I love about the Simon Hurley inks is that they just go on beautifully like this. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more darker. And then I'm going to wipe it off. I couldn't find my mat here. All right. So when you see, and you go put that on there, you're going to have the purple on purple. And I think we're going to layer that up. So let's leave that the way it is. Now for this one, I am pulling in an old stamp set. This was part of the retirement sale. It's called Autumn Harvest. There's Autumn Harvest and there's Grateful. And they both have the dies and all of these are in stock. And I think they are such a fun set. So I'm going to use these beautiful, probably these two pumpkins. This is kind of more of a gourd. And then of course there is the Grateful pumpkin. I don't know if I'm going to do all three of those, but let's grab our dies and we're going to stamp those out as well. And I'm going to use that same purple ink. I had some scraps of paper here that I want to try to use first. That's not your mama's. So I'm going to use this scrap of paper first. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp out all three of them. And then I'll decide if I want to use 1, 2, or 3. What's fun about this stamp set is that you've got these decorative pumpkins, and then it also comes with the solid pumpkins. But we're just going to use these ones for right now. And I'm going to go ahead and just line them all up. Actually, we'll use down here at the bottom. I think this is a set people forget about or didn't think about as much. And it's very fun. It makes them beautiful. I have heat embossed these. I've used the plain ones and just heat embossed them like in gold. And oh, they just made me, look at how beautiful those are. That's just one pass. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more just to try to get, since they're a more solid image, make sure I'm getting it cupped nice and solid. That's my perfect press here. Then I'm going to pull them out and just, I mean, look at how beautiful those are. You could totally put some embossing powder over the top of those and make them shimmery like the fairy dust embossing powder. But I'm going to just use them plain this time. I think I'm just going to add some sparkles. Maybe we'll do some splatter here quick. I really just, the focal point I wanted to is kind of focus on this. So that's what I said. We may only use one of these. But I wanted to, since I was stamping, I might as well cut them all out. Halloween's coming, right? Fall coming. So I can always use a couple extra pumpkins. Hopefully I cut these all out at the same time. I might have stamped them a little too close together. And just a little bit left on this roll. So I thank you for bearing with me. Like I said, I had planned on going live last night and crafting, and I overworked myself outside and the heat got better to me, and I ended up kind of laying down for most of the rest of the day. Oh, that one moved just ever so slightly. One nice thing about having a magnet mat. Excuse my arm in the way. Pop those out. Look at how beautiful those are. Now I feel like we need just a little bit of something to kind of, break this all up. So I am going to throw in, and we might change this all around, some black cardstock. So I've got some licorice cardstock here. I'm going to go ahead and cut down an A2 panel. I have so much stuff. on my desk right now, working with the new release and Stencilpalooza. Go ahead and cut this down to 4 1/4 by 5. And I'm just going to see what this looks like first, because I may change my mind and want to do the black. See, I'm thinking I'm going to do the black. And then I'm thinking we're going to do the pumpkins too, but we need a little bit of something to break that up. So I think I'm going to run back here to behind me. And I'm just going to grab a circle. I'm just going to grab a circle die. And the reason I'm using black is because my sentiment is black. And I had another piece of that cardstock. And just cut that out. Actually, what we'll do is we'll use that as our mat. Put this one aside. Yeah, I think I'm liking that. I'll save this purple for another day. Just some quick, fast cards that you can do any color. Yeah, and I'm actually thinking, I don't know if I want to do 2 pumpkins. I think we're just going to do the 2 pumpkins. And then we're going to put that on top of our black mat. And I think that is going to be our basic of our card. Very simple. I do think I want to add a little bit of spritz to this. So I'm going to grab my ornament gold. I got to shake that up a little bit. Do that off camera here. And then I'm going to spritz it up in the air. It's kind of hard to show on camera. But I spritz the air and then I just run my cardstock through it. And it adds just a teeny tiny bit of shimmer. Instead of spritzing it directly on. Sometimes it shows up better than others. It's not really. So I guess we're just going to. There, I can see it now. It's very, very faint. So let's try it up. Let's see if I can catch that shimmer. It's not showing up too much, so I think we're just going to go ahead and spray it one more time. There we go. Now I can catch that shimmer. And there's just a little bit of shimmer on my card. It's very hard to see in person on camera, but in person I can see that. And we'll go ahead and it doesn't take very long for that to dry because it's just a spritz. Put this down on our card now. And then we're just going to put our little black spot there. You could use vellum. You could use a doily type die. We had that doily die that came out a few years ago, or something with a scalloped edge, something to give it some fun. You could add some florals or some. I'm just going to try to go a little basic here. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to put one down and pop the other one up. So let's put that down. And I have a little bit of foam tape right here. And then you could do any kind of sentiment you want. This type of card doesn't have to be a Halloween card. I'm using the raised, what is it called? I just had it in front of me. The raised. It's the Stamp Club Premium for this month, the Raised Remarks, which has amazing sentiments for every occasion. And I stamped that out. And then what I wanted to show you is I clear cut it with my scissors. And then I'm just taking a black marker. This is just a black Olo marker, but any black marker would work. You can use a Crayola black marker. And I'm just edging it, which hides that and makes it look like it's a solid core cardstock. We're just going to add these on. And I got Happy Halloween Friend. And I think we're going to pop those up as well. So I will snip a few pieces of foam tape. I might have to shorten one of them for Happy. Yep. I'm just going to do Happy Halloween Friends. It's like I know some of you know that I have a My eldest birthday is in October, and that child loves Halloween. So birthday cards are always fun. Thank you cards in the fall. I'm just going to go ahead and put it down. Actually, I think we're going to do it right down here. And I'm going to put them kind of cattywampus. And we have card number 1 done. You could add some flower or gems. You could do all this, but it's super simple. There is card number 1. All right, for card number 2, this is the one that I already have pre-done, and we're just going to finish it off. I'm going to show you. All I did was take the stencil. Actually, we're going to make 3 cards. And I ink blended from yellow up, and then I masked off each with a piece of masking tape, each row as I did it. And then I did the yellow, and then I just left the top empty. And then I cut, once I was all done, I lined my stencil, I kept my stencil line up, and I covered it with fallen snow, which I think makes for a very fun Halloween card. And we're just going to go ahead and cut this down because I think I'm going to layer this on some orange cardstock just to bring in a little bit more of that Halloween vibe. I'll grab some of that. We're going to use some pumpkin cardstock, which is very fitting. And I think I already have a piece cut down. I'm just going to glue that down. You can see this was a piece I already cut. I cut from a card panel card base that I made a mistake on because I have my stamp on the back. So I don't throw those away. I just put them in my bin to use for another purpose. So I mean, look at how fast that was. And then I think what I'm going to do is we're going to stamp out our little guy here. I'm going to do it once again. We're going to do a little bit of, I'm not going to take time to fussy cut. I'm going to get a little bit of this orange cardstock. I think that looks like it's the perfect size. Yep. We're going to pull these off. And I think, yeah, we're going to just stamp him out, and then we'll do something different with the sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and use the Raven ink. Now, I have not stamped this out yet, so it might take me a couple of stamps. I haven't conditioned it or anything. I usually rub my fingers to condition a stamp over. But it is also a Halloween stamp, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Halloween cards are great for not being perfect. I'm gonna quick heat set that. And I only heat set it because it was wet and I did multiple stamping. And I'll just cut it down. I have my stamp still stuck on my bin, but cut that down. I'm just going to kind of line up the edge of him on the edge of my cutting. And I trim him down accordingly. So he ends up being about 1.5. Ooh, I didn't cut this. There we go. 1.5 by 2 1/8, looks like. Move those stamps out of the way. So we've got this guy, but we need a little bit more. So I'm going to cut down a sentiment strip. I'm going to cut that down. I'm going to do the whole 5.5. And then I'm going to stamp it. Let's see here. So So I'm going to cut it down to an inch, 3/4 of an inch. See if that works for a. That's too long. Oh, because I went this way. I need to do a 4 1/4. That's fine. I measured it wrong. That's okay. Stick this guy in. I'm going to stick it in the bottom. We're going to grab our spooky swishes. We're going to stamp that. Oh, let's see. What I'm going to do is line this up in here. That looks like it's perfect right there. And then we'll just stamp that in some Raven ink. This card is quick because I had everything ready to go. Spooky wishes. I think this is going to be a go-to sentiment for me this month. And then we'll go ahead and just layer this on. Now, because this is glitter glaze, I am going to go ahead and use both tape runner and liquid glue. You don't need to have a lot of liquid glue, but a little bit, because that will help it adhere to that texture. And that's my opinion, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And we're going to go ahead and line this up on our glass mat. To get it straight. And I'm going to go ahead and use this line right here, it looks like. Perfect. And then we will pop this guy up. We're just going to line him up right here. I think we'll overhang him just a hair. And then while that adheres, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of this ornamental gold, and I'm going to grab that and I'm going to paint his button, which will darken it a little bit to a different color, but it will also give it some sparkle. And I think we'll do his little skull too. And that will be enough for me to have just a little bit of sparkle. Let's wipe that off. We'll flip this over. And there is our second card using the Pumpkin Glow. Now for our third and final card for Pumpkin Glow, I have a piece already done. Again, like I said, I had this done. This is Raven, or not Raven, but licorice cardstock. Raven's the old cardstock, black cardstock, and I used alabaster white pigment ink to ink blend. And then once it was dry, I used a little bit of Shooting Star Stellar ink at the bottom. That's really hard to see the yellow, but it's enough to give it a little bit of depth. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a card panel. I think I have another white one. I got to cut the white one down. We're going to do the opposite of, we're going to use the other stencil. Now I did the whole thing because I wasn't sure if I was going to do a mix. I didn't know if I was going to do a slimline card, but I'm just going to use this much of it. And then we're going to take the faces, maybe. I'm looking for my faces. There. Let's move to our pigment palette. I like to keep my pigment palette on my desk, and then I have that on my glass mat, my Tim Holtz glass mat, and then I put our glass mat on top. I'm going to go ahead and just put this guy down. And then I'm just going to use some Raven ink. And actually, I'm not going to use Raven ink because I used the pigment ink. I'm going to go ahead and use the Black Widow, which is one of my favorite Sam Hurley black inks for something like this. And I'm going to go ahead and just ink blend in the eyes. So we're going to do the opposite of what we did. We did white on black ink, and now we're doing black on white ink. As you can see, these faces lined up a little bit more. They're a little more, these are more from Phantom. You know, the jack-o'-lantern faces, I'm so excited for that to get here. But it's the same concept, just different faces. I am showing it just because it's the same idea, just different. All right. So that is that part of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to layer it on the opposite. So isn't that fun? That's what we're just going to do. It's going to be the opposite. But I feel like this needs a little bit of something. So I am going to splatter this with some of this ornament gold. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I just sprayed it off camera a little bit. Look at that shimmer. And then we're going to heat set it just a little bit. I think got a couple splatters on this one that I'm going to just wipe them up so that I can get this to dry. And then once again, we are going to cut this down a little bit. I think I'm going to cut down a little bit off each side again because there was a couple eyeballs that didn't quite make it. Cut a little bit off the top, a little bit off the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and put that again on some of that licorice cardstock. I think I have to, I thought I cut a piece down, but that's fine. I'll cut another piece. I use lots of A2 card panels, so I never mind cutting another piece down. Probably use that other piece. Okay, and then so put this on here. Let's go ahead and put that down. Put that on here. And then for this one, I'm going to use a bunch of foam tape and tape this up. All I'm going to do to make sure I don't use too much foam tape is that too much? Looks like it might be okay. Yep. And then I'll just cut this one in half. So the nice thing, I think stencils are some of my favorite things to add to your stash because you can make very quick, fast cards. You don't have to have pattern paper if you have stencils because you can sit and just make your own pattern paper backgrounds, and it's quick, fast, easy clean up with a little bit of squeaky clean, isopropyl alcohol, whatever you prefer. And you can do so much with them. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to put it down, right down this side. Line it up. Like so you could cut one of those pumpkins from that autumn harvest set out and stamp it in white, or just cut it out in white and stick it on there. But I think all we're going to do is grab a piece of white cardstock. I have a small piece here, and we're going to go ahead and stamp another sentiment, and I'm going to use that Spooky Wishes again, I think. because to me, that is Halloween. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp it right there where it's at. And we're going to use the Black Widow ink again so it ties in. And we're going to move on to our Nocturne one. That one we may only have 1 or 2 cards. There we go. Thinking. I'm just gonna eyeball it and cut it with my scissors. But I'm gonna cut this one at an angle, which I'm horrible at, and this one just straight. And just put it in here, right like this. Spooky wishes. I did not cut that straight. Let's see if I can do it a little straighter. And then I will glue that down. Very simple, fast, clean card. Actually, I think we're going to put it up here at the top. Spooky wishes. And that's another fun, simple, fast card. All right. So I'm going to start with my pre-made background. I use the Nocturnal Glow stencil. I just ink blend a rainbow of ink starting at the bottom from the top. These are all Simon Hurley inks. And then before I removed the stencil, I sprayed it with that ornament gold. And I just think it makes for a very fun background. And once again, like normal, my favorite thing is to take a rainbow colored card. And I am trimming off a little bit more off the bottom because there's a lot more red than there is purple. Same thing with the other side. I'll probably do more off this side because I didn't get as much purple. Excuse me. So I'm going to trim all off the bottom for the red. So that way I keep that purple. But I love a rainbow card on a black mat. I think it just pops. And then I'm going to go ahead and look and see what sentiments I have handy on my desk. I just think that this is fun. And then we have our same stencils, but what I do think I'm going to do is I am going to pull in one more set. We're going to pull in the incentive stamp for this month. And it is the Evil Grin. This stamp is free with a $60 order while supplies last. So if you place a $60 shippable order, this will automatically be added to your cart. And I think it's super fun with the Evil Grins and the Happy Halloween. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to take a piece of our black cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to 4.5 or 4 1/4 so it's ready for an A2 card. Once again, I'm going to take a die and we're going to cut out the center so that I can keep this as a mat, which I could have used for this card, but I've already attached it, so I'll use it for my next card. I may use this stencil again on Friday night during my live, just because I don't want this video to go super long. So I'm going to just limit it to this one card tonight for this one. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the Happy Halloween. And then I think we're going to grab this pumpkin guy and we're going to let them kind of sit together. So making quick and fast, fairly easy cards tonight. And all I'm going to do is take my alabaster ink and lightly stamp it. Now we could heat set this, but I'm just going to show you the white on there. I'm going to stamp it a couple times because I have not stamped these out yet. Being very careful to not push too hard. Because I don't want to distort the seam. A little bit more down there in the center section. I think a little bit more by his eyeballs there. Perfect. How fun is that? I'm going to quick heat set this. It is a pigment. And then just so it's not super kind of boring, because we just need a little bit of something here. And I think we're going to put it off to the side and cut that off. I'm going to grab a couple colored pencils. I've had these colored pencils forever, so I don't even know the brand or anything. I'm just going to grab a couple of them and we're going to just color in a little bit because this is on the black. I think these might be watercolor pencils. I'm just going to do a quick color. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a little bit here and there. Sorry, I hit the camera with my head. Tried to grab it so you wouldn't get seasick. A little bit of green on the stem up here. I think that is awesome. Look at. Okay, it's not focusing. It doesn't like to focus on it. Well, let's get this glued down. Yeah, I think these might have been watercolor pencils, but I'm not going to add watercolor to them. I'm going to leave them bright the way they are. Yeah, because look, it came off a little bit on my mat. I'm going to put this down right on the edge, right here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off just because I want to. Add a little bit of fun interest. If you guys will bear with me for just a second. I'm going to grab a die, I think, if I can, from my stash over here. This was a die. I'm hoping I can find it. It eluded me, so I'm not going to use it. I was going to I have a Halloween die that cut out some bats, and I thought some bats would be fun, but it is eluding me. So we will just leave our card like this. And I will finish off with that. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please check out the Stencilpalooza stencils each day this month, except Saturdays. There's a new one. This was Sunday's Nocturne Glow and Pumpkin Glow. And like I said, I have 3 with the pumpkin card tonight. And 1 with this. I will use probably the bat on Thursday night during our live. So I will see you all on Friday night, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye now.